Shalom Akim, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Rakak Wadash. Double honor to the apostles, elders, bishops of Great Millstone. Salute to the sincere Akim out there of the hopeful elect. All right. Yeah, man. So you people, man, you got what you voted for, man. All right. You niggas got what you signed up for. I'm talking about Donald Trump, your beloved president. All right, because a lot of you so-called Negroes, a lot of you West Indians, Puerto Ricans, y'all went out there and voted for Donald Trump to come in office, and now he's talking about deploying the National Guard to Washington, D.C. All right, the National Guard and federal agents that he plans on deploying to Washington, D.C. and having the government take over the police department of the District of Columbia. Okay, so it's basically martial law, man. You know what it all boils down to. And it doesn't stop with Washington, D.C. He's even said New York City can be next. All right. So these are the policies, man, that you Jake signed up for. You know, you went out there to the voting booths on election day, you know, and you wanted to get Trump in office. A lot of you always say you vote for the less, you know, you rather vote for the lesser evil because y'all wasn't feeling Kamala Harris either. All right. But the whole point is, you know, if you're a man of the Lord, and the Lord imparted wisdom unto you, you're not going to vote for evil, period, man. All right? Besides the lesser evil. Evil is evil, okay? You know, Donald Trump is evil. Kamala Harris is evil. Barack Obama is evil. Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, George Bush, all of the past presidents of the United States of America. They're all evil, man, you know? And if you're a man of God, if the Most High is dealing with you, then you're not going to go out there and cast a vote for an evil person, you know, who's knowingly evil to rule over you. All right. So let's start off with this is the book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 25. It says, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Okay. Yeah, man. You know, this is the typical politicians in America. All right, who got all of these different policies that most of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are not familiar with. All right, y'all don't know how these you know, what it takes to be a politician in DC. All right, you know, you do have your little local politicians here and there, you know, in the community, you know, mayors, district council leaders, and this, that, and the third, certain congressmen. Okay, but once you get into DC, you know, politicians start getting into DC, they made it to the big league, man. Okay, wherein, you know, they're basically being funded or bribed by different lobbyist groups, you know. And when it comes to being a president, you know, one of the main lobbyist groups that they take money from or that they get endorsed from is these Jewish lobby groups like AIPAC. You know, you got the ADL as well. All right, and you look at Donald Trump and every president before him, they've been pretty much doing the bidding of the Israeli Jewish rat. Okay. Okay. So it says, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And you know Donald Trump got a major ego. That man, that fucking demon be ego tripping. All right. It says, and by peace shall destroy many. Okay. And everything that Donald Trump is doing, he's talking about, he's doing it in the name of peace. Okay, you know, DC is just such a crime-ridden city, you know, that he has to deploy the National Guards to bring some kind of stabilization and order into that city. All right. So through peace he shall destroy many, and the people that he's going to destroy is Jake, you so-called Negroes, man. Because D City is also known as Chocolate City, and it's heavily populated by you so-called African Americans. All right, who make up the tribe of Judah out of the nation of Israel. See, a lot of you Jakes out there, you know, you thought you was gonna get off scot-free and everything because, you know, you said Trump is basically targeting immigrants. All right, you know, mainly the northern kingdom of Israel, so-called Mexicans, South American Indians, Central American Indians, like the El Salvadorians and what have you. You know, the MS-13 gang and such. You know, even the Dominicans. All right, and Cubans out there in Miami. And also, you You Haitians have been targeted, man. Okay, so Trump is on a mission to go against Jake. All right, he's on a mission to go against Jake. But you so-called African Americans thought you was off the hook because you look at yourselves like, look, we was born in this country. We're American. Okay, we natural born citizens. Okay, well, Trump is targeting you too. You know, because like I said, DC, the District of Columbia, is a heavy populated city of African Americans, which are you Judites. Okay, and Trump is threatening really all of these democratic cities, man, where most of you Judites dwell at. You know, that's why he said New York could be next. Okay, and remember, back in his first term, he was threatening to send the National Guard to Chicago. In Chicago, the south side of Chicago, all right, in particular, is heavily populated with Judah, you so-called Negroes. So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he has but a short time. Okay, so things are going into that forward motion, man. And the so-called white man trying to fulfill his goal of a new world order. All right, and you know, the main threat, the ones who are in the way of a new world order, is are you Israelites, man. Okay, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, the 2/3 of you just gonna get, you know, you're gonna get ran through for the most part. All right, but the Lord is preserving an elect few, 1/3 of Israel. Okay, that's not gonna be down with the program of the so-called white man. You know, and his new world order, his ambitions and goals of a new world order. Okay, but yeah, this devil's gonna come down on you. Send the National Guard, send the federal agents. All right, and you know, he already got ICE going after the Latin tribes for the most part and slamming them in concentration camps. You got Alligator Alcatraz. All right, you know, so it's about to go down. This is the things that we've been telling you, prophesying to you brothers and sisters out there for the longest, man. You Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, so it's about to get ugly, man. You know, so you got to put your trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That's who you people ignorantly call God and Christ. Okay, and that's their true names in the Hebrew. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being his only begotten Son. All right, this is the book of Psalms 94, verse 20. It says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? Okay, the throne of iniquity is the so-called white man. All right, they're the devil and Satan, as the Bible testifies. All right, and it says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee? Meaning you ain't supposed to befriend these devils. You ain't supposed to be going to the voting booths and casting in the ballot for these devils to rule over you, to preside judgment over you, man. Okay, you ain't supposed to be buddy with them. The Lord is a separatist, in case you haven't noticed, man, if you haven't read the Bible. All right, he's a separatist, he's a racist. Okay, he's only about Israel, you so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, it says, which frameth mischief by a law. Yeah, when you look at the laws of the United States of America, they're totally contrary to the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father, even though this place claims to be a God-fearing country. Okay, you know, they uphold the Bible, you know, in public view, but behind the scenes, in the House of Legislation, they frame laws that are mischievous, man. Okay, that are mischievous, that are corrupt, and is geared towards harming you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, a lot of the things that Donald Trump is pushing, even Congress considers it to be unconstitutional. Okay, so Trump is just acting on his own accord, man. You know, and these devils got so many damn laws that they gotta review things, go back and see if this is lawful, if that's lawful, what Donald Trump is doing. All right, you even got Kathleen Hochul, the governor of New York State, saying she's got to review the books to see if what Donald Trump is saying about deploying the National Guard to New York City. I'm going to review the books of the law and do everything in my power to stop it. Okay, so many goddamn laws. The Lord said he's not the author of confusion. Okay, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai's laws are not about confusion, but the so-called white man's laws are. All right? It reads on to say, they gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. Okay? So that's what's going to go down, man. You know, they set up martial law in these cities, these democratic ran cities, which the Democrat Party basically caused a whole lot of chaos. All right? Now you got President Donald Trump in there, who's a Republican. He's so-called trying to establish the order. All right? So you have Auto Ob Ko, the Democrats and the Republicans, okay, basically a part of the same governing body, you know, through two different parties, all right, but they all had the same agenda, and they all worked together to oppress you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right. So it's about to go down, man. And like I said, this is what you niggas signed up for. Every nigga that went out there, you know, to go cast a vote for Donald Trump, lo and behold, this is what you're gonna get. All right, families broken up, you know, young Jakes getting killed in the streets by these rogue police officers, National Guardsmen, the Army, Gurkha troops, ICE agents, all right, Federal Bureau of Investigation, police. Okay, it's about to go down, man. The government has declared war on its own citizens, man, and especially you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, because they already view a lot of you Latinos as non-citizens, okay? But you Jakes from the tribe of Judah, you so-called African Americans, are not exempt, and Donald Trump is showing you that right now, all right? So that's what you niggas signed up for, so that's what you're gonna get, all right? So I'm gonna end the video on that note, say shalom to the hopeful elect, man. All right, keep fighting the good fight. Stay prayed up. We almost out of here, man. Shalom.